Hi, this is Margo. This is Monday morning, January 16th, 2023. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'm okay, just recovering. When I get super exhausted and super toxified, it just takes me longer to bounce back. And I'm bouncing back, but anyway, I apologize for not doing my weekly update last night, but I just couldn't do it, and so this is going to be my YouTube update that I would have done last night. I'm gonna have to cut down the length of the videos. I just don't have the energy to go, super long like I had been. And so I want to show methane. We need to keep up with methane, and I'm going to go over sea ice, and that's all I'm going to go over in this video. Now, if you recall, last Sunday, which was the 8th, CAMS had not released any new methane data for the year. The latest methane data they had was December 31st of 2022, and we had gone over that data on Sunday, January 1st. Well, they started releasing data about the middle of the week, this last week, and it was just like, sometimes it was one day at a time, sometimes it was 3 days at a time, and one day would just be up for an hour or two or 30 minutes or something like that, and then it would fall off. But I was able to capture all of the days except for 2. I was not able to capture January 1st. I don't even know if they put that up, because when I looked at it, the first data was January 2nd, and then I was not able to capture Friday of that week, but I was able to capture everything else, and most of it is silent movies, silent videos, just so we have the data. And that's on my Subscribestar page, which will eventually be archived over on my website. So, but I've been keeping up with all of the NOAA data, and so what we're going to go over today is the NOAA data. I have 2 days worth of NOAA data that I haven't reported on, that I would have reported on last night, Friday and Saturday of this week, the 13th and 14th. And then we'll go over the Saturday data on CAMS. And we'll look at sea ice too. So I'm going to start with, this is the NOAA data for Friday, the 13th. This is the Met-Op-B satellite in the morning, the 1000 millibar level. The mean or average was 1842 parts per billion. The high reading was 2134, and you notice we have white over most of the Pacific Ocean and over a lot of Africa and the Middle East and Russia. And but that's more. This is more data than we had the 2 days before that. The 2 days before that, there was so much missing data, I just didn't even count it. but I'm counting this one, and so anyway. And then in the afternoon, the mean was 1839, the high reading was 2233. On the Methane Sea satellite in the morning, the mean was 1843, the high reading was 2160. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1848, and the high reading was 2283. And then for the 14th, Saturday the 14th, back to the Met-Op B, we're still on the 1000 millibar level. In the morning, the mean was 1838, the high reading was 2249, and in the afternoon, the mean was 1840, and the high reading was 2248. On the Methane Sea satellite in the morning, the mean was 1847, the high reading was 2236, and in the afternoon, the mean was 1846, and the high reading was 2201. So here's the weekly data. So the 14th averaged out for the 1000 millibar level, averaged out to be 1842.75. That gave us an overall decrease this week of 3 parts per billion. So we can see, here we were last week at 1845.75. We'd gone up 2 weeks in a row. And then, so here we were last week, and here's the drop of 3 parts per billion. And I'd been saying I didn't know if we had bottomed out yet or not for this season. Now, if we look at the daily data, here's what happened this week. Here we were last week, the 7th, we were 1845.75. The 8th went down 1.5. The 9th went up 0.25. The 10th went down 1.5. And then here, I didn't even count. I mean, I recorded it, the data over here, just to have it. But there was so much missing data. You can see 1856.75. That's, that's it. That didn't happen. A rise of 13.75, and then a decrease in one day of 17.25. That didn't happen. There was just so much missing data. And so the 13th averaged out to be 1843, which was the same as the what we had on the 10th. That's another reason I decided to count that day. There was no change. And then the 14th went down 0.25 to give us a decrease of 3 parts per billion this week. Now, so far, that's our lowest reading since Christmas Day, which was 1841. So we're still not back down to that level on this 1000 millibar reading. So we're still waiting for that. So there's that. Then Oh, wrong day. Going back to the 13th, and now we're at the 487 millibar reading, which is the closest we can get to the 500 HPA on cams. Met op B in the morning. The mean was 1908. The high reading was 2394. In the afternoon, the mean was 1906. The high reading was 2561. On the Met op C in the morning, the mean was 1872. The high reading was 2265. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1873, and the high reading was 2238. Then on the 14th, here we go. On the 487 level, Met op B in the morning. The mean was 1906. The high reading was 2475. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1910. The high reading was 2585. So that's a spike there on that high reading. On the Met op C in the morning, the mean was 1873. The high reading was 2256. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1873. The high reading was 2245. We see all these pinks, mainly over the Arctic region and coming down even further here, further south. So here's our 487 chart. So the 14th averaged out to be 1890.5 parts per billion, and we had a big decrease. We went down 6.25 parts per billion on this level. See, we had been at 1896.25 up here, but we had a big decrease, and see so much that on this chart it's increments of 5 parts per billion rather than 1 part per billion. So when we start getting, more increase and decrease, when we start getting higher and lower, the increments will become larger too. Okay, let's see what happened on the daily readings. So here we were in our show last week. We ended at 1896.75. That was for Saturday the 7th. Then the 8th went down 2.25. The 9th went down 0.5. 10th went down 0.5. And then 2 more days that I didn't count, for the reasons I went over already. And the 13th was 1889.75, and that was a sharp decrease over the 10th of 3.75. And then the 14th, we ended at 1890.5, and that was actually an increase over the day before, 0.75, but we were still down this week, 6.25. So the lowest we went this week was the 13th of 1889.75, and so far that's our lowest reading for this season. And before that was the 25th of 1893.5. So you can see we got we tied that 1893.5. Yeah, we tied that here on the 10th. We tied that before the 2 days of lots of missing data. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Hang on. 1893, okay. So that's our lowest, 1893. Oh, okay, sorry. And then we went below that here at 1890, and here we're 1889. So that was our lowest so far. 1889.75. So we'll see. I'm not ready to call that as our lowest reading for the season, not until we see where methane's going to go the rest of this month. Now, in the past, it's the low it's been around the end of December or by the mid-January from what I've been tracking. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's where we're at on that. We'll close those. And now we'll look at the CAMS data. We're going to look at Saturday, the 14th. We're going to start on this Arctic view and surface level. So the data is for Saturday, and the forecast period is Sunday through Wednesday. And when they started releasing the data, I did not see I didn't see any changes in the way it was being presented. And we saw a lot of high methane readings that have since gone down somewhat, but it's gone down. You can see methane's gone down this week. But we did see higher readings that would go along with what we saw in the NOAA data. From what I can tell, the color chart's all the same. The everything. I didn't see any obvious change in the colors or any when they're reporting or anything like that. I'm thinking that since this is a yearly thing, maybe someone who tracks the methane and carbon dioxide, maybe they go on vacation and then it takes them a while to start going through that data. But it's just on methane and carbon dioxide. All these other greenhouse gases, they release, they're current on a daily basis. So we're still seeing huge releases here at Combs-and-Mollets, and on Saturday, see, we're still seeing high readings here and Barents Sea, Kara Sea, and coming across even high here in the Laptev Sea, Russia. Yeah, but it's going down. You can see it's not as much of the darker regions, which is this range of 2160 to 10,000 parts per billion. And it's still coming up through the sea ice, as you can see. Canada, this is in the tar sands region, still high readings. Here in North Dakota into Canada, we saw super high readings in the U.S. from the middle part of the country east. I'm thinking from the rain and snow, the precipitation they got, along with it being winter, we're using more things to heat with and all of that. You're going to have higher methane readings. That just goes along with. Okay, here's the North Pole view. Here we can see most of the northern hemisphere. We can see Spain and Portugal start out really high. There's the UK, and see parts of Europe, Germany, and so on. And here's the Persian Gulf. Here's India, and see high readings spilling over the Bengal Bay. China is filling up and spilling over. See, you can't even see the coastlines. Watch, here it goes. See the wave moving out. And then here in the U.S., see, from Texas over. Look at that. It's after they've had the rain. Then a day or two later, it turns into high methane. And then these waves moving out across. And we've also been seeing some higher readings coming up in Canada, in this archipelago region, even if it's just yellow or orange. That's higher than what we had been seeing. Now, this yellowish color is like 2040 to 2060 parts per billion. Then the yellow-orange is 2060 to 2080. The bright red is 2000 to 2020 parts per billion. Okay, now we'll go to the Antarctic. And as the methane is going down, we see lower readings, especially here in the southern hemisphere. See the navy blue. That's the next color down. That's 1820 to 1840 parts per billion. But then we still have 1840 as our main background color here. We are able to see some aquas popping up. See here at the Brunt Ice Shelf, and here at the Larsen B, and sometimes here at the Amory Ice Shelf. See right there, that's in the forecast period. We're at the Brunt Ice Shelf. And remember, sun's still up down here, and it's they're still in high melt. And the Antarctic. Now we'll go to the global view. Here you can see the shift right around the equator, where it goes into the navy blue. But we still have super high readings in the northern hemisphere, and that's where the majority of the population is. So wherever you have populations, you're going to have methane. But this up here in the Arctic, that's coming up from the seabed. We see South America, see the interior. It's got high readings down there. But I've seen it higher. I've seen it where it was streaming high readings coming off, but you never know. These models can change and you're not aware of it. Okay, here we are at 500 HPA. It's about halfway up in the atmosphere, and see the dark just covers the Arctic region and comes as it's coming down to northern India and even further south than Japan, and see down here south of India in the Indian Ocean, swooping down here on this eastern side of the U.S. Normally we don't have these high readings at this level, this far south, but things are changing. Here's total column, and we can see China has the highest readings, and just spots of high readings here, eastern India, North India, and here south of India, also here. This is just above the Mediterranean, and so on, and then all the reds. So there's that. Now we'll move on to sea ice, and I've got 2 weeks of climate reanalyzer images to share, and what you're going to see, the main changes. Well, you'll see the snow, the sea ice is snow cover, the white over the land, that's snow. You'll see that coming and going over the land. But for sea ice, you're going to see slight changes here in the North Bering Sea and here in the Bering Sea and here in the Sea of Okhotsk. Those are the main places you're going to see it. So here we are yesterday, the 15th, and we can see the Hudson Bay is frozen back. The Baffin Bay is still kind of holding. This extent it's not coming down around this west side of Greenland, southwest side, because the water is just too warm. And see, Svalbard is still open because the water and the air is just too warm. Now we've had warmer air set up all week, just until really today, but all week between Svalbard and Franz Josef Land, and this eastern edge of the sea ice here is just stayed, just kind of, it's not coming back. Remember, it came back and then it melted, and it's kind of stayed back once it melted. We're seeing a little bit of refreeze to the east of Franz Josef Land. But here's Novaya Zemlya and the Kara Sea, and then a little bit around the Russia coastline there. And then out here in the Bering Sea, and here in the Sea of Okhotsk. So let's go through. We've got 2 weeks here. Here we were on January 1st, which was the last time I showed this for YouTube. And we'll just click through. Here's the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. There's a retreat on the 11th. Did you see that? Here, let's go back. Here's the 10th. There's the 11th retreat. 12th retreat again. 13th. 14th. And 15th. So there's that. Then we're going to go over current data on the U.S. Navy website. This is Arctic sea ice thickness for yesterday, the 15th. We can see this pretty much corresponds with the climate reanalyzer model. And here's this regrowth. Now this is not much, and it's under where it should be here in the Bering Sea, and it's very thin and wispy. Same thing in the Sea of Okhotsk. And here the Hudson Bay is frozen, the Baffin Bay, and we can see a little thickening here, moving into the dark blue, and some spots of aqua, and these tributaries. See, we're seeing more aqua, so that's thickening in these tributaries. Hardly any red, which is would be the thickest sea ice, between 4 and 5 meters thick. Still a little spot here on the north coast of Greenland, and some down here around these islands, the Canadian archipelago. And then we've got greens, this line of green, which is 3 meters thick. The bright aqua, which is 2 to 2.5 meters thick. And the dark aqua, which is about, 1.5 meters thick. Right, like in here. And then the dark blue, navy blue, is about 1.75 meters thick. The dark purple is about 1 meter thick. And so we're seeing the dark purple shift to the dark blue here for quadrant 1, also quadrant 4, and then these aquas, shades of aquas in quadrant 4, quadrant 3. Then in quadrant 2 has the least ice. Well, the least thicker ice. And really quadrant 3 is the area that really has the least amount of ice. But just because if we're, because where the land is, though. And most of the ice in quadrant 2 is in the purplish range. So there's that. And we're seeing aquas around the coastlines. That's mainly because of the ice drift pushing the ice toward the coast, and then it piles up. But when it pulls it away from the coast, then that thick ice goes away, gets folded under, and then when it when it drifts back, the drift pushes it back, then it thickens up again. Here's our 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday, the 15th. So the data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast goes out to next Sunday, or this coming Sunday, the 22nd. See, it's struggling here in the Bering Sea and the Sea of O coast. And we're still seeing this aqua sliding down. It's exiting. We saw this start. We saw this a month ago. Starting to slide down. And this west side of this thicker ice, see it sliding down as well towards the Beaufort Sea. We're seeing a little more thickening. But not a lot of change. I think we usually reach maximum extent. I think it's around the first part of March, and then it starts going. It starts on the melting. So there's that. Here's the Beaufort Sea ice thickness, Canada on the right. Here are these reds. That's the thickest ice. Not much, just right around these coastlines in this little spot. Here's aqua, here's green, and see how this aqua is sliding down. This is the Beaufort Sea here, and here's a hole where the ice strip pulled it away. And then we've got blues moving in, purple moving into blue here. So about 1.25 meters thick here, and so on. Here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday. So again, the forecast goes out to Sunday. You can see this obvious sliding down. See this end. Here, I'll put my pointer. See, watch how far it goes. That's a lot of movement. There's that. Here's the Antarctic, and it's in high melt, and this their melting season, they've been below lowest on record for a long time now, and we're still lowest on record for this time of year. And this is where it's at for yesterday. And look how this Weddell Sea is just dissolving, and this is what's left of the thicker ice. This aqua here along this western peninsula, and then this ice out here in the Weddell Sea is into the Lavender Range, so that's under 1 meter thick. And then lots of open water here. This is the Brent ice sheet here, and the open water around there, and coming up to the Weddell ice sheet. And then very little ice around the edges, and the Ross Sea is almost all melted. And around this western coast. And then further out we still have some ice, but that's being whittled down too. Here's the 30-day animation. This was updated to yesterday. So again, the data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast goes out to Sunday. So it's still high melt. Okay, here is National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is for the 14th. Sea ice concentration. The brown line is the median. And see, we're well below the median here from Svalbard over to Novaya Zemlya. And see the blue, this is where it had come back out, but that melted, and it never got fully concentrated again. And here it is coming out, the Bering Sea, and so on. Here's the extent on the refreeze, the extent chart. The blue line is this year, and the dotted line is 2012 to 2013. So we can see that we slipped beneath the 2012 line a while back, over a week ago, and we're still underneath the 2012 on the refreeze. And remember, 2012 had much thicker ice, much healthier ice, so to be below 2012 on the refreeze is not a good sign at all, because it's so much thinner and it's just not healthy ice. Here's the Antarctic for yesterday, and see all these anything inside the brown, that's the median, so we're well below that, and especially here on this west edge, see, and in the Weddell Sea. And here's the extent chart for the melt, and the blue line is this year. We can see we deviated from last year quite a while back. In December, it was in not quite mid-December, we started dipping below last year, and here we are, still below, and this is we're at record low extent for this time of year this whole time. Let's see. There's that. Now we're going to look at NASA Worldview, and I'm going to start down here in the Antarctic, and I'm on the 14th. That's the last day that they had full images up. I don't know why. Here it is for the 15th. See, I don't know why. I don't know if, well, obviously something happened to their satellite feed, but here we are on the 15th. 14th, which was Saturday. So we can see sun is up, and I've been tracking this A76 iceberg, and it's still here in the same position, and how it can remain in this position and then just kind of rotate back and forth, but it's not moving out of this area for so long. How can that be? If anyone has any ideas on that, I would like to hear how that can be. Here we were on January 1st, and here it is. Now it moved up slightly, but we'll just click through. Here's the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Now that's a good view on the 7th, and it was pretty straight up and down 12 o'clock position. 8th, now it's rotating to the left a little bit. 9th, 10th. Now it's straight up again. Look at that big change from the 10th to the 11th. Now it didn't move as far as actual location, it just rotated to the right. Here's the 12th, 13th, 14th. It's still in that same rotation to the right. But it's still there, and I can't see that it's disintegrating that much. But been under a lot of cloud cover there. Here's the Western Peninsula, and that Larsen B, what was left of the Larsen B, it's right down here. And this is where the sea ice had refrozen. That's all melted. Here's the Larsen Sea ice shelf. And this is, anyway, this is the thicker ice, what we saw right along here. That's what we've got of the aqua ice that we saw on the Navy website. And then up here, see how it's just all broken up. We're looking through some clouds now, but you get the idea there. I want to come down. I wanted to show Pine Island Glacier. Now, there was an article that came out recently about the calving of Pine Island Glacier, and the images they had were from 2019. And it did calve. It calved. Calved off all the way up here. And this is sea ice. This is not part of the glacier itself. This is refrozen. So if we look back, see here on the 20th, see, it had already calved off. Now here's a cloud, but that's all open water, so it calved off. Now this whole ice shelf, or the ice, melted that year, and it did calve off. See, it's cloudy so much you can hardly see, but see that? That's where it calved off to. This is the glacier, and that's just open water. So if we go, see, in 2019, January of 2019, see, it was further out, so it did calve off. And see, here's all the ice breaking up. See, this water melted, the sea ice melted year after year up to right up to the glacier, and then there's warm water coming in underneath, so it melts it below. Plus there's active volcanoes under there, And that's one reason that you'll see here 2017. See, the ice melted here, and the glacier was further out. So almost each year we've seen some calving. Here's 2017. See, there's 2019. There's 2020. And 2021. Now there was, I think there was further calving. Let's go back. I can't remember, but I've been tracking this. But they've had it, there've been so many clouds that it's hard to see. But this is sea ice that they say never melted last year, according to these pictures. This is probably one of the better images that we have for right now, and we can see it's already melted here up to where it calved off last, and there's a hole over here on the west side too. Here's a good image. This is January 10th. So here's the glacier, and this jagged edge, that's where it calved off the last time. And then it refroze up to this area. So the images they showed in that article were 2019, and it's already calved off. What they were saying was going to calve off already came off. So you got to be careful when these reports come out, and it takes them 2 or 3 years to analyze all the data, and so you think it's current data, but it's images and data from 3, 4, 5 years ago. And you think, oh my gosh, but if you go look at it now, it's even worse than what they were saying. So there's that. But this ice is melting. And I wanted to show, also, we're tracking Thwaites Glacier right here. This is the Doomsday Glacier. Now that's under a big cloud, and the tongue has separated. It had been hanging on just a little bridge here, but that's all that's separated now. Here's a good view for the 11th. Here's the tongue. You can see that's disintegrating. We have one big piece here that's still kind of intact, but this is, see, all this is melting here. This is breaking apart. See all these ice pieces that came, broke off this tongue, and it's spreading out. These are pieces, and then the water froze in between the pieces, so that is thinner. As the thinner ice melts, then you're left with these pieces that are a little thicker, but those are just disintegrating. It's also melting on this edge, and there's the Thwaites Glacier. And so here's the 11th, and here's the 12th. Now we have clouds, but there's no bridge now there. Here's the 13th, clouds, and here's a good view for the 14th. Pretty good view, yeah. And that's as close as we can get. These are clouds over it. And you can see these pieces breaking off of the edge. Also here, and this is sea ice. And see, that was the little bridge. But the tongue, it's not connected anymore. So it just depends between now and, when it starts getting dark and things start cooling down there, as to how much this breaks off. Now we've seen it calved off further, melted up further. Let's see, there's 2021. I didn't really start tracking Thwaites Glacier in earnest until about last year, I think. Let's see, here's the tongue. This was not 2019, January 14th. And so it's a different shape of the ice, see. But the tongue was more intact. Let's see, and it came way down. Here's 2018. Big difference, huh? See, this was all intact. See, there it is, all solid, and then it had started coming off down there. But that's a big difference, isn't it? And then here's Pine Island Glacier. 2018, see? So there's that. So here we are today. And then you can see this coastline is open all the way around. Here's the Ross Sea. This is pretty much open. Here's the Ross Ice Shelf. Here's Ross Island. There's still some ice around this area. Here's Mount Erebus. We can see the shadow of the volcano because the sun is starting to go down, so we're starting to see some shadows. It's not just straight up overhead anymore. Here's the ice. It's ice, what's left. We're here. Here's the southeast edge. Here's the Totten Glacier. We've got some clouds, but we can see the tongue here. Now, this area, this melted out a lot earlier. Here's the tongue. Here are these cracks. This crack going straight up and crack coming out. It's still kind of the same, but this hasn't broken off. See, not much ice here. This is all melted out. See? Open water. Coming around this east edge, the east edge. See, that's open. Open. Here's the Amory ice shelf, and several glaciers feed into this. There's a piece here that has remained, see, sticking out, but it's still there. So it's a little finger coming out. And we've got a bunch of clouds here. So if we go back, 13th, here's the 12th. See, it's cloudy. That's the thing. It's when you get a good view in one area, one day it's cloudy in another area. So this is probably the best view. This is from the night. And see, here's the ice shelf. And there are the rocks on the edge. And there's the edge. Now this did calve off here. A big piece calved off. I think it was a couple of years ago. Anyway. Here. There's open water. That's the edge of the ice shelf there. That's the 11th. Here's the 12th. See, there's the open water. 13th. And today, the 14th. And then, coming on up. Open, open. A little bit of ice around the edges. Here's the north edge. Open. See. And then here's the Brunt ice shelf. This whole thing here is the Brunt ice shelf. This is an area where we see methane coming up on cams almost on a consistent basis. And we've got a bunch of clouds, but this is open next to the ice shelf. Here's a good view on the 12th. See, open. And this is, that's the Halloween crack. See, looks like it's going all the way across now. And a big piece broke off here. I think it was last year. And then this is refrozen. Or maybe it's up here, I don't, anyway. You can see It's see the conditions here. See, it's all open water here. See. No, I think the piece was up here that had broken off. That's right. And anyway, it was up here, and that's melted back again. And then we're back to the Weddell Sea and Weddell Ice Shelf here. So that's what we've got. Lowest on record for this time of year. And then on the Arctic, we can see that this circle is not really started getting smaller yet. It's about the same for what is still in the dark. So here's the sea ice concentration, and this goes along with the other models. And see here around Svalbard, still open, and this is thinner ice here, or not as concentrated. So that's what we've got here. So if we go back to the first, about the same, see? Not much difference there. And we'll just click through. Here's the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So it's coming back out here in the Barents Sea. 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. There's our retreat. See here? 12th, retreat again. 13th, retreat. And 14th. So it's the shape is changing, and it's kind of retreating up here next to Novaya Zemlya too, and also here on this east side. So that's my report today. I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm not going to do a Bible reading. Everyone knows where I stand if you've been watching my channel for any length of time. I believe time is short, and shorter than we know, and that we all need to get our spiritual houses in order, and that if you haven't given your life to Jesus Christ, I recommend you do it now, so that you can start walking with Him, and walking with God and Jesus. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you, and until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.